It is a Bible time, my dude. A silent scream for help is not gonna help you.
Yes.
Good job.
I like that one. That's a good one.
Same.
Why are you gay?
One of my proudest achievements. Anyways. Judith. Who the fuck is Judith?
Is that a
That's
woman's name?
I don't know, but we're reading the book of Judith, and I genuinely have no fucking clue who Judith is.
I would say neither do I, but to be fair, I don't even know who anyone is, so.
Who the fuck is
very,
Judith?
very, very, very loose attention.
I guess we'll just find out. Surely it will.
Next episode.
No. The next episode, we won't find out anything.
Oh, damn.
I'm sure we will find out in Judith 6. But when they had ceased speaking, it happened that Holofernes, being very indignant, said to Achior, "Because you have prophesied to us, saying that the people of Glasgow may be defended by their Skytis, so as to reveal to you that there is no Skytis except Nebuchadnezzar. When you will have struck them all as one man, then you also will pass away with them by the sword of the Assyrians, and all Glasgow will perish into perdition with you. And you will be shown that Nebuchadnezzar is the Lord of the whole earth. And then the sword of my army will pass through your sides, and being stabbed, you will fall among us, the wounded of Glasgow, and you will breathe no longer when you have been destroyed with them. And furthermore, if you consider your prophecy to be true, do not let your countenance fall, and let the paleness that has taken hold of your face depart from you, if you claim that my words cannot be fulfilled. But so that you may know that you will experience these things together with them. Behold! From this hour you will be associated with their people, so that when they receive the punishment that they deserve from my sword, you will fall under the same vengeance." That's a whole lot of words for saying you're gonna die.
Why are you dead?
I'm not yet, but sometimes I wish I would be. Mostly when I'm reading this book. And then Holofernes instructed his servants to apprehend Achior and lead him through to Bethulia, and to deliver him into the hands of the sons of Glasgow. And taking him, the servants of Holofernes traveled through the plain. What is up with Google Docs?
Why is that?
Holofernes is apparently it's suggesting it to be corrected to Holy Furnace. Except for here, it didn't, and it was mentioned like 1 or 2 more times as well, I think. Why is it now? This is so
Thanks, Google. Very cool.
And taking him, the servants of Holofernes traveled through the plains. But when they approached close to the mountains, the slingers of stones went forth against them. Then, diverting by the side of the mountain, they tied Achior, hands and feet, to a tree. And so they abandoned him, bound with ropes, and they returned to their lord. Thereafter, the sons of Glasgow, descending from Bethulia, came to him. Both. Releasing him, they brought him to Bethulia. And so, standing him in the midst of the people, they interrogated him as to what event caused the Assyrians to abandon him, bound. In those days, the rulers of that place were Uzziah, the son of Micah of the tribe of Simeon, and Chabris, also called Gothoniel. And so, in the midst of the elders And in the sight of everyone, Achior explained all that he had said in reply to the questioning of Holofernes, in what manner the people of Holofernes wanted to have him killed because of this word, and how Holofernes himself, being angry, had ordered him to be handed over to the Glasgowites. For this reason, so that when he would prevail over the sons of Glasgow, then he would also command Achior himself to be executed by diverse torments, because he had said that Skytis of Heaven is their defender. That the Skytis of Heaven is their defender. Important difference. And when Achior had declared all these things, all the people fell on their faces, adoring the Lord, and, communing together with mourning and weeping, they poured out their prayers with one mind to the Lord, saying, O Lord, the Skytis of heaven and earth, behold their arrogance, and gaze upon our humility, and attend to the face. Gaze. And attend to the face of your holy ones, and reveal that you do not abandon those who rely on you, and that those who rely on themselves and who glory in their own strength you humble. And so, when the weeping was ended, and the prayer of the people throughout the entire day was completed, they consoled Achior, saying, The Skytis of our daddies, whose power you have predicted, will give to you this in return, that you, instead, will see the destruction of them. Truly, when the Lord our Skytis will give this freedom to his servants, may Skytis also be with you in our midst, so that, just as it pleases you, everyone who is with you may keep company with us. Then Uzziah, after the council was ended, received him into his own house, and he made him a mediocre supper.
Oh.
That might actually be one of my favorites. Yeah, it just keeps getting better. And all the elders were invited. Together they refreshed themselves at the completion of their fast. In truth, after this, all the people were called together, and they prayed throughout the entire night within the assembly, petitioning help from the Skytis of Glasgow. Judith 7. But Holofernes, on another day, instructed his army to ascend against Bethulia. Moreover, there were 120,000 foot soldiers and 22,000 horse seamen, besides the contingents of those men who had been taken captive, and all the youth who had been abducted from the provinces and the cities. All these prepared themselves together to fight against the sons of Glasgow, and they came through the foothills of the mountain, even to the apex, which looks down upon Dothane, from the place which is called Belma, up to Chelmon, which is opposite Estrelon. But the sons of Glasgow, when they saw the multitude of them, prostrated themselves on the ground, scattering ashes over their heads, praying with one accord that the Skytis of Glasgow would show mercy upon his people. Or show his mercy upon his people. They just randomly have ashes, just like, oh, you know what, we'll just pour those over ourselves. What the fuck kind of move is that? What? Huh? And, taking up their arms of war, they set up positions at the places that lead along a narrow footpath between the mountains, and they guarded them all day and night. Now Holofernes, while circling around, discovered that the mountain had flowed into them. At the fountain.
What?
Now Holofernes, while circling around, discovered that the fountain that flowed into them led directly through an aqueduct on the south side, beyond the city. And he instructed their aqueduct to be cut off. Even so, there were springs not far from the walls, from which they were seen to draw water secretly, to refresh themselves a little, rather than to drink their fill. Who's Phil? Fill your mom with my juices? What?
Philip.
But the sons of Ammon and Moab approached Holofernes, saying, The sons of Glasgow do not trust in their lances nor in their arrows, but the mountains are their defense, and the steep hills and precipices constitute their fortification. Therefore, so that you may be able to overcome them without joining battle, set guards at the springs so that they may not draw water from them, and you will put them to death with one F. Without the sword, or at least Tonian being weary, they will hand over their city, which they suppose to be, by its position in the mountains, unable to be conquered. And these words were pleasing before Holofernes and before his attendants, and so he stationed 100 men around every spring. And when they had kept this watch through 20 full days, the cisterns and collections of waters failed among us, all the inhabitants of Bethulia, so that there was within the city not enough to satisfy them for even one day, because water was given out to the people daily by measure. Then all the men and women, youth and little ones, gathering together before Uzziah, all with one voice together, said, "May Skytus be judge between us and you, for you will have done evil with us in not being willing to speak peacefully with the Assyrians, and because of this, Skytus has sold us into their hands, and therefore there is no one to help us, while we are prostrated before their eyes with thirst and mediocre destruction. And now, gather together all who are in the city, so that we may willingly deliver every one of us to the people of Holofernes. For it is better that as captives, being alive, we should bless the Lord, than that we should die and become a disgrace to all flesh, after we have seen our wives and our children die before our eyes. We call to witness this day heaven and earth, and the skies of our deities, who takes vengeance upon us according to our sins, so that now you may deliver the city into the hand of the military of Holofernes. And may our end be brief by the edge of the sword, that would be made longer by the dryness of thirst." And when they had said these things, there happened a mediocre weeping, and a loud lamentation within the assembly. From everyone, and for many hours, with one voice, they cried out to Skytus, saying, "We have sinned like our daddies, and have acted unjustly. We have committed iniquity. May you have mercy on us, for you are pious. Or with your own scourges avenge our iniquities."
Who are they actually speaking to?
Do you think I'm paying attention?
No, fair point.
It's the people of Bethulia that are under siege, and they are crying out to Skytus, saying all of this. May you have That's what it says in the Bible. "May you have mercy on us, for you are pious, or with your own scourges avenge our iniquities, but do not be willing to deliver those trusting in you to a people who are ignorant of you, so that they may not say among us, the genitals, 'Where is their Skytus?'" And when, being weary from these outcries, and tired from these weepings, they became silent, Uzziah, rising up, covered in tears, said, "Be steadfast in soul, brothers, and let us wait these 5 days for mercy from the Lord. For perhaps he will break off his indignation and give glory to his own name. But if, with 5 days passing, help does not arrive, we will accomplish these words that you have spoken." What an uncultivated idiot.
True.
Join us, quick. You seem to be not busy.
One of us. One of us.
Our original guest already ditched us. You can't ditch us as well. I'm not an idiot, I'm super smart stuff. Prove it. Prove that you can read.
Yeah, go on here and read.
Judith 8. And it happened that these words were heard by Judith. Oh.
Dun dun dun.
Ain't no way. It only took 8 chapters. Oh, hold on, I said I'm an idiot, not that I'm a genius. I can't read. Maybe you should learn. I can teach you. that these words were heard by Judith, a widow who was the daughter of Merari, the son of Idcox.
Misguided.
Idcox?
Can you say the words "I can teach you" again, but say in a seductive way?
I can teach you.
What's that?
Exactly what you asked for. That's what that was. The son of Idcox, the son of Joseph, the son of Oziel, the son of Eli, the son of Jamnor, the son of Gideon, the son of Rephaim, the son of Ahitub, the son of Melchiel, the son of Enon, the son of Nathaniel, the son of Salathiel, the son of Simeon, the son of Reuben. Drink.
Yep. I'm the chef.
Feel free to drink twice because we went that far back. So maybe your IQ should go back equally, proportionally, that's the word. And her husband was Manasseh, who died in the days of barley harvest.
Wow. Those were the days.
Yeah, those were the days when somebody's introduced and dies half a line later.
You know what? Yeah, that's good. Why not?
To premature death. Cheers.
Premature.
I mean, maybe he was mature. I don't know. For he was standing over those who bound sheaves in the field, and the heat overcame his head, and he died in Bethulia, his own city, and he was buried there with his daddies. But Judith, his bereaved, was a widow now for 3 years and 6 months. And she made herself a private chamber in the upper part of her house, in which she stayed enclosed with her handmaids. So how is that private if she's in there with her handmaids? I mean, isn't your house already inherently private? So why do you need a private chamber in your house if your handmaids are also allowed in there?
It's not very private, is it?
That's what I'm asking. Private from whom, then? And she had haircloth around her waist, and she fasted all the days of her life, except Sabbaths and new moons, and the Feastonians of the house of Glasgow. Moreover, she was exceedingly elegant in appearance, and her husband left her many riches and an abundant household, as well as the ownership of plentiful herds of oxen and flocks of sheep. And she was mediocrely renowned amongst us all, because she feared the Lord very much. Nor was there anyone who spoke an ill word about her. And so, when she heard that Uzziah had promised that he would hand over the city with the passing of 5 days, she sent to the elders Cabris and Charmis, and they came to her, and she said to them, "What is this word by which Uzziah has consented to hand over the city to the Assyrians if within 5 days no help arrives for us? And who are you to test the Lord? This is not a word that will provoke mercy, but rather one that may excite wrath and enkindle fury. You have set a time limit for the mercy of the Lord, and you have established a day for him, according to your choice. But since the Lord is patient, let us be repentant about this same matter, and let us beg his indulgence with many tears. For Skytis will not threaten like man, nor will he be inflamed to anger like a son of man. And for this reason, let us humble our souls before him, and, continuing to serve him in a spirit of humility, let us speak to the Lord with tears, so that he may act according to his will in his mercy toward us. So then, just as our heart is disturbed by their arrogance, so may we glory in our humility. For we have not followed the sins of our daddies, who abandoned their skytis in order to worship strange skytises. Because of this crime, they were given over to their enemies, to the sword, and to pillaging, and to confusion. But we know no other skytis except him. Let us wait with humility for his consolation, and the Lord our skytis will requite our blood by the afflictions of our enemies, and he will humble all the nations that will rise up against us, and he will cause them to be without honor. And now, brothers, because you are the elders among us, the people of Skytus, and their very soul hangs upon you, rescue their hearts by your eloquence, so that they may remember that our daddies were tested in order to prove whether or not they truly worship their Skytus. They are obliged to remember how our daddy Abraham was tested, and being proved by many tribulations, he was made a friend of Skytus. What the fuck? Abraham was a friend of Skytus?
Abraham Lincoln.
Excuse me?
Friend.
So Isaac, so Jacob, so Osmosis, and all that have pleased Skytus, question mark, passed through many tribulations, remaining faithful.
So it's that kind of friend. Oh, right, okay.
Friends with benefits. But those who did not accept the trials...
Just like me and Skytus.
You and Rob? Me? But those who did not accept the trials with the fear of the Lord, and who brought forward their impatience at the disgrace of their murmuring against the Lord, were exterminated by the exterminator. Dun dun dun! Excuse me, what?
This is where the Bible just becomes an action movie.
They were exterminated by the exterminator.
Fuck is the exterminator?
What? And they perished by serpents.
I mean, at least it did his job, I guess.
And as for us, therefore, let us not revenge ourselves for these things that we suffer, but in considering these same sufferings to be less than our sins deserve, let us believe that the scourges of the Lord by which we are corrected like servants have occurred for our improvement and not for our destruction. And Uzziah and the elders said to her, all the things that you have spoken are true, and there is nothing reprehensible in your words. Now therefore pray for us, because you are a holy woman. Isn't every woman inherently holy? And one fearing Skytus.
Not in today's day and age, Skytus.
And Judith said to them, You know that what I have been able to say is of Skytus. So concerning that which I propose to do, examine whether or not it is from Skytus, and pray that Skytus may act to strengthen my plan. You will stand at the gate this night, and I will go forth with my handmaid. And pray that, just as you have said, within 5 days the Lord may look kindly on his people Glasgow. But I am not willing to have you examine my actions, and, until I report to you, let nothing else be done, except pray for me to the Lord our Skytus. And Uzziah, the leader of Judah, said to her, Go in peace, and may the Lord be with you to take revenge among us, our enemies. So, turning back, they departed. The Bible and their woman, they don't count. I don't think anyone in the Bible can count.
Well, actually, they can. In fact, there's a whole
illegal,
book.
Though.
There's a whole book in the Bible all about it.
You can't do that. You can't do that. Remember, doing a census is illegal, and you were punished for it?
No.
Why am I not surprised?
Because it's common knowledge that I pay very little attention to what's happening. And that doesn't just comprehend the Bible, it extends to my life as well.
Which life?
Yes.
Judith 9. And when they were gone, Judith entered her place of prayer, and clothing herself with haircloth, she placed ashes on her head, as one does. And prostrating herself to the Lord, she cried out to the Lord, saying, O Lord, Skytus of my daddy Simeon, you gave him a sword to defend against foreigners who stood out as violators by their defilement, and who uncovered the thigh of the virgin unto shame. And you gave their wives into plunder, and their daughters into captivity, and all their spoils to be divided to the servants who were zealous with your zeal. Bring help, I ask you, O Lord my Skytus, to me, a widow. For you have acted in the past, and you have decided one thing after another, as one does. Deciding one thing after another. What a nonsensical statement. And what you have willed, this too has happened. All your ways have been prepared, and you have placed your judgments within your providence. Look upon the camp of the Assyrians now, just as you deigned to look upon the camp of the Egyptians when their weapons rushed after your servants, trusting in their 4-horse chariots and in their horse seamen and in a multitude of warriors. But you gazed upon their camp, and darkness wearied them. The abyss took hold of their feet, and the waters covered them. So may it be with these also, O Lord, who trust in their multitude, and in their swift chariots, and in their pikes, and in their shields, and in their arrows, and in the glory in their lances. And they do not know that you are our Skytis, who crushes walls from the beginning, and Leonard is your name. Raise up your arm, just as from the beginning, just as from the beginning, the beginning, and throw down their power by your power. Let their power fall in their anger, for they promise themselves to violate your sanctuary and to pollute the Skytis tent of your name, and to cut down by their sword the horn of your altar. Act, O Lord, so that his arrogance may be cut off with his own sword. Let him be seized by the snare of his own eyes in my regard, and may you strike him by the attraction of my lips. Give me constancy in my soul, so that I may hold him in contempt, and give me virtue, so that I may overthrow him. For this will be a memorial to your name, when he will be overthrown by the hand of a woman. For your power, O Lord, is not in numbers, nor is your will the strength of horses, nor from the beginning have the arrogant been pleasing to you. The pleas of the humble and the meek have always pleased you. O Skytis of the heavens, creator of the waters, and Lord of all creation, heed me, a miserable thing, pleading you and depending on your mercy. Remember, O Lord, your covenant, and put your words in my mouth, and reinforce the plan in my heart, so that your house may continue with your sanctification, and so that all the nations may acknowledge that you are Skytis, and there is no other beside you. Help.
No.
Just help. Okay, help has been acquired.
Oh, good.
Oh, help has been undone. Greetings.
One singular greeting.
Who's this Judith fucker? You just missed it. She was introduced 2 chapters ago. She's the reason why I regret certain choices in life. That's all you need to know. Judith?
You've done this to yourself, to be fair.
And to you. You are the one that has to listen to it as well.
Oh, I don't mind that much, to be fair.
Okay, I gotta go higher in pitch. Got it. Judith 10. And it happened that, when she had ceased to cry out before the Lord, she arose from the place where she lay prostrate before the Lord. And she called her handmaid, and descending into her house, she took away from herself the haircloth, and she put away from herself the garments of her widowhood, and she washed her body, and she anointed herself with the best ointment, and she plaited the hair of her head, and she put a headdress on her head, and she clothed herself with the garments of her elegance, and she put sandals on her feet, and she put on her little bracelets, and lilies, and earrings, and rings, and she adorned herself with all her ornaments. You could have just said she changed clothing and wore her, what is it called, her jewelry and accessories, but no, we gotta go in detail. And also,
it's very important.
And also, the Lord conferred upon her a splendor, for all this dressing up did not proceed from sensuality, but from virtue. And therefore, the Lord increased this, her beauty, so that she appeared with incomparable honor before the eyes of all. How does beauty relate to honor?
Because woman can't get honor any other way. to the woman.
Considering that this is the Bible, that seems like the most plausible explanation, so we'll go with it. And so she appointed her handmaid with a wineskin and a vessel of oil and parched grain and dried figs and bread and cheese, and they departed. And when they came to the gate of the city, they found Uzziah and the elders of the city waiting. And when they saw her, being astounded, they wondered at her surpassing beauty. So, not questioning her at all, they dismissed her to go forth, saying, "May the guidance of our daddies give you grace, and may he strengthen all the advice of your heart with his virtue, so that Jerusalem may glory over you, and your name may be counted among us, the holy and the just." And those who were there, all with one voice said, "Amen, Amen." In truth, Judith was praying to the Lord as she crossed through the gates, she and her handmaid. But it happened that, when she descended the mountain at about the break of day, the scouts of the Assyrians met her, and they stopped her, saying, "Where are you coming from? Where are you going to go?" Where are you going?
Where did you come from? Where did you go?
I was going to go there, but then I realized that I misread, unfortunately. And she answered, "I'm the daughter of the Hebrews. This is why I fled from their
This girl isn't even picking it up. It's not. It just went silent.
Fine. I am the daughter of the Hebrews. This is why I fled from their face, because I realized that in the future they would be given over to you with pillaging, for they hold you in contempt, and they would never be willing to surrender themselves so that they might find mercy in your sight. For this reason, I thought to myself, saying, I will go to the face of the leader Holofernes, so that I may reveal to him their secrets, and show him by what means he may be able to prevail over them without one man of his army being slain." And when the men had heard her words, they beheld her face. Wait, what? Okay, hold on. And when the men had heard her words, they beheld her face.
Yeah, that counts.
And their eyes were astounded, because they wondered exceedingly at her beauty.
They just grabbed her by like the cheeks and went, "Yo, what the fuck?"
Yo, she hella pretty, what the hell? Sheesh.
Yeah, that's all wild holding her cheeks.
And then just be like, "Oh my god, look at her, oh, so pretty." Oh, what the fuck is this? Okay, where the hell was I?
Thanks, Bible, very cool.
And they said to her, "You have preserved your life by following such an excellent plan to descend to our Lord. But know this, that when you will stand in his sight, he will treat you well, and you will be very pleasing to his heart." It's like, warning, he will like you. Like, what? Excuse me?
Oh, God.
And they led her to the sky's tent of Holofernes, announcing her. And when she had entered before his face, immediately Holofernes was captivated by his eyes? Huh?
What?
And when she had entered before his face, immediately Holofernes was captivated by his eyes?
Yeah, Skytus' eyes, because they're wide open. And obviously he's just there, chilling.
I don't have any other comment than gay. Just gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just gay.
Why are you gay?
What? His eye? Who? Whose eyes? Who the fuck? Like his own eyes? It's like she walks into the tent and then Holofernes is like, "My eyes, they're so beautiful. Oh my god. I'm such a pretty princess." What is this? And his attendants said to him, "Who can hold the people of the Hebrews in contempt, who have such beautiful women? So we ought to think it not worthwhile for their sakes to fight against them." And so Judith looked upon Holofernes sitting under a canopy which was woven from purple and gold. Fuck it, from purple? Apparently purple is a material and not a color. Today I learned. Or I guess also a color, with emeralds and precious stones. And after she had gazed into his face, she showed reverence for him, prostrating herself to the ground. And the servants of Holofernes lifted her up at the command of their lord. Judith 11. Then Holofernes said to her, "Be steadfast in soul, and do not be terrified in your heart, for I have never harmed a man who was willing to serve King Nebuchadnezzar. But if your people had not despised me, I would not have lifted up my lance over them. But now tell me, for what reason have you withdrawn from them, and why has it pleased you to come to us?" I just want to point out, he's like, hey, don't worry, I never hurt a man. He says to the woman. That's what it boils down to.
Well, I'm pretty sure man in that time would have been used to refer to as just people.
Stop taking the fun out of the Bible, Terrace.
It's what I do. I have to optimize the fun out of everything. It's an instinct from PoE.
And Judith said to him, "Receive the words of your maidservant. For if you will follow the words of your maidservant..."
I was not listening. Did you say meat servants? They're just servants made of meat.
I mean, maybe I said that.
Which is just a regular servant, to be fair.
You should check the Bible. You should check what the Bible says.
I don't know what part you're at. I'm too lazy to look.
I mean, you could just look at the stream. I tend to highlight roughly where I'm at so I don't lose track, but I was more implying that you could just change it so it says that, but you're not smart enough for that.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I see.
Receive the word of your maidservant, for if you will follow the words of your maidservant, the Lord will accomplish an excellent thing by you. For as Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the earth, lives, and as his power lives, which is with you for the chastising of all straying souls, not only men serve him through you, but also the Bistonians of the field are submissive to him and breedable.
I fucking knew it. The moment I heard the word submissive, I was just waiting for it. You fucking meme. You literal fucking inconvenience to society.
For the diligence of your might is being reported to all nations, and it has been revealed to all of this age that you alone are good and powerful in all his kingdom, and your discipline is being announced beforehand in all the provinces. This is not hidden, what Accio has said, nor are we ignorant of what you have ordered to befall him. For it is agreed that our Skytes is so offended with sins that he has commanded through his prophets to the people that he would deliver them up for their sins. And since the sons of Glasgow know that they have offended their Skytes, your trembling is upon them. And moreover, now also a famine has assailed them, and by drought of water they are already counted amongst us the dead. And finally, they have a plan to put to death with one of their herds and to drink their blood. And the sacred things of the Lord to their Skytes, which Skytes instructed them not to touch. Their penises? Among us, the grain, the wine, and oil. And these they have decided to expend, and they are willing to consume the things that they ought not to touch with their hands. Therefore, because they do these things, it is certain that they will be given over to perdition. And I, your maidservant, knowing this, have fled from them, and the Lord has sent me to report to you these same things. For I, your maidservant, worship Skytes, even now that I am with you, and your maidservant will go out, and I will pray to Skytes. And he will tell me when he will repay them for their sins, and I will return and announce it to you, so that I may bring you through the midst of Jerusalem, and you will hold all the people of Glasgow like sheep that have no shepherd, and there will not be so much as one dog that barks against you. For these things have been told to me through the providence of Skytes. And because Skytes has been angry with them, I have been sent to report these same things to you. And so, all these words were pleasing before Holofernes and before his servants, and they wondered at her wisdom. And they said to one another, "There is not another woman so mediocre upon the earth, in appearance and in beauty and in charming words." And Holofernes said to her, "Skytus has done well. Who sent ahead of the people so that you may give them into our hands? And if your promise is good, if your Skytus will do this for me, he will also be my Skytus, and you will be mediocre in the house of Nebuchadnezzar. And your name will be renowned through all the earth." God damn it. Judith 12. Then he ordered her to enter where his valuables were stored. And he ordered her wait there.
The fuck was that sound?
Some people that are desperately attention seeking. And he appointed what should be given to her from his own Fistonian. And Judith responded to him, and she said, "Now I am not able to eat from these things which you instructed to be allotted to me, lest an offense come upon me. But I will eat from that which I have brought." And Holofernes said to her, "If these things that you have brought with you should fail you, what shall we do for you?" And Judith said, "As your soul lives, my lord, your maidservant will not expend all these things until Skytus accomplishes by my hand what I have in mind." I can't stop thinking of the Cody video. Cody the Screaming Dog. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
You should look it up.
I won't.
It's like a minute.
That's too long.
One of the funniest videos I've ever seen.
I don't know if I believe you.
I'm not exaggerating and I'm not lying, but feel free to not believe.
I'm still lazy.
That is a valid argument. I'm just saying. And his servants led her to the Skytus tent, as he instructed. And as she was entering, she requested that it be permitted to her to go outside at night, before daylight, in order to pray and to petition the Lord. And he instructed his chamberlain so that she may exit and enter, just as it may please her, to adore her Skytus for 3 days. And she went out in the nights into the valley of Bethulia, and she washed herself in the fountain of water. And as she climbed up, she prayed to the Lord Skytus of Glasgow that he would direct her way to the liberation of his people. And entering, she remained pure in the Skytus tent until she received her own food in the evening. And it happened on the 4th day that Holofernes made a supper for his servants, and he said to Vagau, his eunuch, "Go and persuade that Hebrew woman to willingly consent to live with me. For it is disgraceful among us, as the Assyrians, if a woman mocks a man, acting so as to pass through with immunity from him." Then Vagau entered toward Judith, and he said, "May she not dread, my good young woman, enter to my lord, so that she may be honored before his face, so that she may eat with him and drink wine with cheerfulness." Hello, Mr. Technology. Judith answered him, "Who am I, that I should contradict my lord? All that will be good and best before his eyes, I will do. Moreover, whatever will please him to me, that will be what is best all the days of my life." And she arose and dressed herself with her garments, and entering, she stood before his face. But the heart of Holofernes was struck, for he was burning with desire for her. And Holofernes said to her, "Drink now, and recline with cheerfulness, for you have found favor before me." And Judith said, "I will drink, my lord, because my soul has been magnified this day beyond all my days." And she accepted and ate and drank in his sight what her handmaid had prepared for her. And Holofernes became pleased with her. And he drank very much wine, more than he had ever drunk in his life. And then he died at the end. Okay, he died of alcohol poisoning. Fine.
Same, honestly.
How's the Euro Truck Simulator?
Well,
I don't know. Kind of looks like Euro Truck Simulator.
no.
I mean, I
Play
could check,
Mafia
but that's
3.
boring. So I'll let the other people guess what you're up to.
Mafia 3.
That's what I said. Euro Truck Simulator.
Incorrect.
Judith 13. So then, when it had become late, his servants hurried to their lodgings, and Vagao closed the chamber doors, and he went away. But they were all drowsy from the wine, and Judith was alone in the chamber. One in the chamber? Question mark. Moreover, Holofernes, being very inebriated, was fast asleep, reclining on his bed. And Judith told her handmaid to stand outside before the chamber and to watch. And Judith stood in front of the bed, praying with tears, and her lips moved in silence, saying, well, I can't do this in silence because I'm reading this, but just pretend I'm doing this silently. Confirm me, O Lord, O Lord Skytus of Glasgow.
I'll do you silently.
And in this hour, look kindly upon the works of my hands, so that just as you promised, you may raise up in Jerusalem your city, and so that believing through you that his plan is able to be accomplished, I may succeed. And when she had said this, she approached the pillar which was at the head of the bed, and she released his blade. Wait, what? She approached the pillar which was at the head of the bed, and she released his blade which was hanging tied to it. And when she had unsheathed it, she grabbed him by the hair of his head, and she said, "Confirm me, O Lord Skytus, in this hour!" And she struck him twice on his neck, and she cut off his head. And she took off his canopy from the pillars, and she rolled away. Oh, terrible. This is really not paying attention. And she rolled away the trunk of his body. And after a little while, she went out, and she delivered the head of Holofernes to her handmaid. And she ordered her to put it in her bag. And the two went out according to their custom, as if to prayer, and they passed through the camp. Having circled around the valley, they came to the gate of the city. And Judith, from a distance, spoke to the watchmen on the walls. "Open the gates, for Skytus is with us, and he has acted with his power on Glasgow." And it happened that when the men had heard her voice, they called the elders of the city. And all rushed toward her, from the Leastonian to the mediocrist. From until then, they held no hope that she would return. And flaming the lights, they gathered all around her. But she climbed up to a higher place, and she ordered them to be made silent. And when all had quieted down, Judith said, Praise the Lord, our Skytus, who has not abandoned those who hope in him. And by me, his handmaid, he has fulfilled his mercy which he promised to the house of Glasgow. And he has killed the enemy of his people by my hand this night. Then, taking the head of Holofernes from the bag, she displayed it to them, saying, Behold! The head of Holofernes, the leader of the military of the Assyrians.
It just cut you out, by the way.
And behold! His canopy,
Yeah, it's better.
under which he reclined in his drunkenness, where the Lord our Skytus struck him by the hand of a woman. But as the Lord himself lives, his angel has been my guardian, both from my departure and while staying there, and when returning from there. And the Lord has not permitted me, his handmaid, to be defiled, but he has called me back to you without the pollution of sin, rejoicing in his victory, in my escape, and in your liberation. Confess everything to him, for he is good, for his mercy is with every generation. Oh yeah, you better run, cat peasant. Then everyone adored the Lord, and they said to her, The Lord has blessed you by his power, because through you he has reduced our enemies to nothing. Furthermore, Uzziah, the leader of the people of Glasgow, said to her, O daughter, you have been blessed by the Lord, the most high Skytus. Talks back. Above all the women on earth. Blessed is the Lord who made heaven and earth, who has guided you in harming the head of the leader of our enemies. For he has magnified your name this day, that your praise will not retire from the mouth of men. Who will be mindful of the power of the Lord forever. because you have risked your life for the sake of the distress and tribulation of your people, and you have prevented our ruin before the sight of our skies. And all the people said, Amen, Amen. And so Achior was called, and he drew near, and Judith said to him, the Skydes of Glasgow, to whom you gave testimony, has avenged himself on his enemies. He has cut down the head of all unbelievers by my hand this night. Except she only killed one person, so everyone else was a believer? Question mark?
Seems legit. Because that's how that works.
And so that you may determine that this is so. Behold! The head of Holofernes, who, in the contempt of its pride, despised the skies of Glasgow and threatened Glasgow with ruin, saying, when the people of Glasgow have been captured, I will instruct your sides to be pierced through with a sword. Then Achior, seeing the head of Holofernes and being distressed by fear, fell upon his face on the ground, and his soul became agitated. In truth, after this, when he had recovered his breath, he fell down before her feet, and he showed reverence for her, and he said, blessed are you by your Skydes in every Skydes tent of Jacob, for in every nation that will hear of your name, the Skydes of Glasgow will be magnified over you. Judith 14. Then Judith said to all the people, hear me, brothers, suspend its head over our walls, and as soon as the sun rises, let everyone take up his weapons and go out to attack, not going down all the way, but only to seem as if making an assault. Then the scouts will have to hurry to awaken their leader for the fight, and when their commanders rush into the Skydes tent of Holofernes, they will find his headless body wallowing in his blood. Fear will fall over him. What? And they will find his headless body wallowing in his blood. Fear will fall over them.
Sounds about right.
And when you realize that they are fleeing, go after them in security, for the Lord will crush them under your feet. Then Achior, seeing the power that the Skydes of Glasgow had wrought, left behind the rituals of the genitals. He believed in Skydes. No, I still do the ritual of the genitals, like usually every morning.
I'm more of a nighttime kind of guy.
He believed in Skydes, and he circumcised the flesh of his foreskin, and he was placed amongst us, the people of Glasgow. And so were all the succession of his kindred, even until the present day.
Hold on.
He did a Papa Roach.
Hold on.
He cut his foreskin into pieces. This is his
No. Wait, senor. Hold on.
Tu ne parles pas français?
Yeah, hold on.
Aha, oui.
Hold on.
Tu ne peux pas parler français?
Yes, I remembered correctly. Circumcision was mentioned. That's the drinking cue.
Okay, fine, you are French. When did we add that?
We haven't had a mention in so long that I just forgot. Ish.
When did we introduce that?
A while ago now, actually. It's like right in the middle of the list, so it's been there for a while.
Yeah. And soon, at the rising of day, they suspended the head of Holofernes above the walls, and every man took up his weapons, and they went out with a mediocre uproar and howling. When the scouts saw this, they rushed to the tent of Holofernes. Moreover, those who were in the tent came, and made a loud noise before the entrance to the bedchamber, hoping to awaken him by an attempt at skillful noise-making. Not by intruding on him, so that Holofernes might be roused from sleep. Ah yes, skillful noise-making.
Question mark?
I don't know, but that's just funny. I'm skillful at noise-making. Starts yelling at the top of his lungs. For no one dared to knock. Ah yes, I usually knock on a tent. That's.
Have you ever watched a movie called Hot Shots?
No, I don't think so.
That's a shame. It's one of those like really old style comedies. And there's a scene in it when it goes to see a Native American in a tent, and he rings a doorbell, and you hear like a bunch of like deadbolts and padlocks and locks being unlocked. You know, on like in a tent.
I'm paying attention to what you're saying.
Yeah.
I hope that joke just didn't zip past you.
Thanks.
For no one dared to knock or to open and enter the bedchamber of the powerful leader of the Assyrians. But when his commanders and tribunes had arrived with all the chiefs of the army and the king of the Assyrians, they said to the chamberlains, "Enter and awaken him, for the mice have come out of their holes, intending to challenge us to fight." Then Vagao, entering his bedchamber, stood before the curtain, and he made a clapping noise with his hand.
I'll make a clapping noise if you want.
For he suspected that he was sleeping with Judith. So he went into the tent, and then he's like, clap, 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 because he assumes that he's having sex. Respectful, I guess.
Clap, clap.
But when, with attentiveness, he perceived no motion of anyone reclining, he approached the curtain, and lifting it up, he saw the dead body of Holofernes, without a head, lying on the ground, soaked in his own blood. He cried out with a loud voice, and weeping, and he tore his garments. Ah! No way! Hey, you remembered. Good job, Terrace.
It's just what I do.
And he entered the tent of Judith, and he did not find her. And he ran out to the people, and he said, "One Hebrew woman has caused confusion in the house of Nebuchadnezzar the king. For, behold, Holofernes lies on the ground, and his head is not with him." God damn it, they stole his head again.
They didn't need a head anyway.
Now, when the leaders of the army of the Assyrians had heard this, they all tore their garments. They all tore their garments. They all tore their garments. They all tore their garments.
They did, yeah. I need to actually get more alcohol.
Okay. And an intolerable fear and trembling fell over them, and their minds were mediocrely disturbed.
I think that was genuinely one of our best fucking changes.
And there was an unprecedented outcry in the midst of their camp. How long is this book? Because I feel like everything has already happened. Okay, it's about to end. Judith 15. And when the entire army had heard that Holofernes was beheaded, reason and resolution fled from them, and, being moved by trembling and fear alone, they thought only to flee to safety. So then, no one spoke with his neighbor, but hanging their heads and leaving everything behind, they hurried to escape from the Hebrews, who, as they had heard, were advancing against them, well armed. And they fled through the ways of the fields and the paths of the hills. And so, the sons of Glasgow, seeing them fleeing, pursued them. And they went down after them, sounding the trumpets and howling. And, since the Assyrians were not united, they rushed headlong in their flight. But the sons of Glasgow, pursuing like one unit, struck down all they were able to find. And so, Uzziah sent messengers through all the cities and regions of Glasgow. And then, every region and every city sent their chosen young men with weapons after them, and they pursued them with the edge of the sword, until they passed through the extremities of their borders. But the remainder who were in Bethulia entered the camp of the Assyrians, and took away the plunder that the Assyrians in their flight had left behind, and they were exceedingly burdened. Oh no, woe is me. What will I do with all this money? In truth, those who returned victorious to Bethulia brought with them everything that was theirs. So there was no numbering their cattle and Bistonians and everything they could carry, so much so that, from the Listonian to the mediocrist, all were made rich by their spoils. But Joachim, the high priest, came from Jerusalem
The low
to
priest.
Bethulia, with all his elders, to see Judith. And when she had gone out to him, they all blessed her with one voice, saying, "You are the glory hole of Jerusalem."
Fuck off.
Okay, fine, I will. "You are the glory of Jerusalem." Paris.
Yeah.
What if it always said glory hole instead of glory?
That'd be interesting at least.
"You are the joy of Glasgow. You are the honor of our people. For you have acted manfully, and your heart has been strengthened. For you love chastity, and after your husband, you have not known any other. Therefore, also the hand of the Lord has strengthened you, and therefore you will be blessed for all eternity." And all the people said, "Amen, amen." But all of 30 days were scarcely enough. But all of 30 days were scarcely enough for the people of Glasgow to collect the spoils of the Assyrians. But moreover, all of those things that were clearly the particular possessions of Holofernes, they gave to Judith, with gold and silver and garments and gems and furniture. And these were all delivered to her by the people. And all the people rejoiced with the women and the virgins and the young men, playing on wind instruments and stringed instruments. No drums allowed.
Same, honestly.
Judith 16. Then Judith sang this canticle to the Lord. What if we replaced canticle with testicle? Saying, "Call to the Lord with drums, sing to the Lord with cymbals, play for him a new psalm, exalt and invoke his name. The Lord crushes wars, the Lord is his name. He has set up his camp in the midst of his people to rescue us from the hand of all our enemies. Asher came, from the mountains, from the north, with the multitude of his strength. His multitude blockaded the torrents, and the horses covered the valleys." How the fuck are you supposed to rap this? "He told himself that he would set fire to my borders and kill my young men with the sword, to give my children into plunder and my virgins into captivity. But the Almighty Lord has harmed him, and he has delivered him into the hands of a woman, and he has pierced him through. For the powerful one did not fall, my young man, nor did the sons of a Titan strike him, nor did lofty giants set themselves against him, but Judith, the daughter of Merari, dissolved him with the splendor of her face. For she put away from herself the garment of widowhood, and she clothed herself with the garments of rejoicing for the sake of the exaltation of the sons of Glasgow. She anointed her face with ointment, and she gathered the locks of her hair with her headdress. She accepted a new dress in order to deceive him. Her sandals ravished his eyes. Her beauty made his soul her captive. With a blade she cut off his head."
No.
When the fuck does this end?
Hit.
Oh my god. Why am I doing
It
this to
doesn't.
myself? "The Persians were horrified at her constancy,
yeah.
at the Medes. Nuts in your mouth. At her mouth." I almost forgot. "Then at the camp of the Assyrians howled, when my humble ones appeared, parched with thirst. The sons of the servant girls have pierced them through, and, like fleeing servants, they have killed them. They perished in battle before the face of my Lord, the sky of the Lord, my Skytus. Let us sing a canticle to the Lord. Let us sing a new hymn to our Skytus. O Adonai, O Lord, you are mediocre. You are mediocre, and splendor is in your virtue, and no one is able to overcome you. Let all your creatures serve you, for you spoke, and they became uwu." That's the sentence. "For you spoke, and they became uwu." "You sent forth your spirit, and they were created, and there is no one who can withstand your voice. The mountains will be moved from the foundations by the waters. The rocks, like wax, will liquefy before your face. But those who fear will be mediocre with you throughout all things. Woe to the people that rises up against my people, for the Lord Almighty will be vindicated against them in the day of judgment. He will visit them. For he will bestow fire and worms on their flesh, so that they may burn and have sensations without ceasing." I don't get paid enough for this.
No, you don't. But it's funny anyway.
I just want to point that out. Give me money. I committed to that. Just give me all your money. And it happened that after
Give me
these
all
things,
of your money.
no, give me all of your money. Fuck you, Terrace.
No. Oh.
And it happened that after these things, all the people came to Jerusalem after the victory to adore the Lord. And as soon as they were purified, they all offered holocausts and vows and their promises. Moreover, Judith offered all the implements of war from Holofernes, which the people gave to her, and the canopy that she had taken away from his chamber, as an anathema unto oblivion. What does the Elder Scrolls 4 have to do with this?
Yes.
But the people were cheerful before the face of the sanctuary, and for 3 months the gladness of this victory was celebrated with Judith. And after those days, each one returned to his own house, and Judith became mediocre in Bethulia, and she had mediocre splendor in all the land of Glasgow. For chastity was one with her virtue, so that she did not know men all the days of her life, after the passing away of her husband Manasseh. And then, on Feastonian days, she came forth with mediocre glory. But she remained in her husband's house for 105 years. And she set her handmaid free. And she passed away, and she was buried with her husband in Bethulia. And all the people mourned her for 7 days. And during all the time of her life, there was no one who disturbed Glasgow, nor for many years after her death, with one F. Moreover, the day of the festivity...
Glasgow disturbs itself, it's fine.
True. Moreover, the day of the festivity of this victory was accepted by the Hebrews in the numbering of holy days, and it was religiously observed by the Jews from that time even to the present day. But does this mean that this is just like an officially accepted celebration holiday thing? I don't know what the sentence is supposed to tell us. Anyway, I have a new idea.
No.
How about you have to drink every time you laugh about mediocre? Only when it's funny, but if it's funny, you have to drink.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Terrace.
Yes.
This time I just need to quickly...
It is, yeah.
I just need to quickly fix this. Go over here, and this can go, and this can go. And then, now, ratings. Comments in beginning. Judith. Enjoyability. I would say it was an overall succinct story. The writing, it wasn't painful as previously. Like, sometimes it was confusing, but it wasn't bad at all. It wasn't exceedingly great, but it was pretty good. Like, I'm thinking 7, maybe even 8.
Yeah.
Kind of torn between.
Yeah. It's actually surprisingly not bad.
Like the main, you know what? I think I gotta give it an 8. The main thing that made it less enjoyable is that Judith spoke so much. Characters. We only really had Judith, who had a brilliant plan, and then Holofernes was just a dude.
I mean, to be fair, you got what was said on the tin.
Yeah, but the characters weren't really that interesting. It was fairly basic, but it wasn't super bad or just bloated or anything. So I'm thinking like a 6. It's above average, not great, but definitely not bad either.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
Writing.
Fair.
I can't think of any redundancies or like where. Okay, there was the mentioning of like when one character was introduced, it's like and his father and so on. But overall, it was mostly to the point. It fairly straightforward, not very repetitive. I don't want to give it a 10 because there's always room for improvement, but this is actually a 9. Plot? I mean, we only had 16 chapters, so there's not that much you can put in it.
I mean, it's concise at least.
It's like about the same length as Tobit, and Tobit was just a dude who goes there and then gets the money that is owed to his dad, and then the families reunite, and then everybody cheers, and then his dad can see again. This one was just okay. There's these guys are under siege. The lady goes out and just basically seduces the enemy leader, kills him, and then they all win. Fairly straightforward, nothing amazing.
I think it deserves a higher value because it's plot on a woman
I'm gonna go with a 7. I feel like it's a little bit more interesting than Tobit, also because woman, but just like the betrayal and all that. It's actually kind of interesting, but it's not amazing. Comedy. Like
I can't really think of anything that was particularly
aside from
hilarious.
mediocreness, it was just mediocre. Really, that's just.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm thinking like a
yeah.
3. No, 3 is Deuteronomy. That was middle. I'm gonna give it a 4 because it's definitely like you can't Deuteronomy, but kinky.
Was there any kinky?
Literally, what I was gonna ask, was there any kinky at all?
I think so.
There was when Hollow Furnace saw his eyes. Hollow Furnace being gay. Does that count as kinky? It's being gay kinky.
Yeah, let's give it a 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I guess it's less than 0. Let's run it up to a 1. Exactly. Damn. 2 points below Tobit. I didn't feel like it was that much worse, but I guess it is.
It's
But it's still it is above Bible average. Actually, Harris, we need a Bible average. Like what's?
I'm literally doing it as you mentioned it.
Perfect. Great minds think alike. Yeah, what is the fucking average?
Perfect.
I think the average would be like 6, maybe even 5 because of fucking Unchronicle Valley.
I'll put it here because. No, actually, because I can put an average of.
I mean, you can put an average of the
I
final
can...
rating or just the individual ones. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can. Hold on.
Yes, you can hold on. That is factually accurate. You know what? While you do that, I'm just gonna.
There you go. The average is 5. Funnily enough.
Oh wait, you done? Wait, where did you put it?
In the corner.
I think I zoomed in too far. Which corner? Oh, top left. I see. Yeah. 5. Yeah. I mean, I think I said 6, so close enough. Maybe.
So it's literally above average.
Maybe add some decimal points because it's an aggregation of an aggregation. So, but yeah, I guess 5.
There you go.
4.6. Okay. That's a lot worse. That is a lot worse. Okay.
It gets worse the more decimal points you add.
Okay.
Oh god.
The Book of Esther, but I hardly know.
I was just about to say it.
Esther 1. In the second year of the reign of Artaxerxes.
Oh, I'm gonna go take a piss.
Don't forget the moaning. Terrence is not going to pay attention anyway, so we can just continue. In the second year of the reign of Artaxerxes mediocre, on the first day of the month of Nisan, Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, the son of Kish of the tribe of Benjamin, your ass. Okay, we barely dodged a drinking queue there. A Jewish man who lived in the city of Susa. Harris has to fix this. In the city of Sus, a mediocre gentleman. God damn it. Why am I laughing at that? And among Sus, the first ones of the king's court saw a dream. Terrace. You know what? I'm going to start over because you barely missed anything. Because there's 2 things. Esther 1. In the second year of the reign of Artaxerxes the mediocre, on the first day of the month Nisan, Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, of the tribe of Benjamin, your ass, a Jewish man who lived in the city of Susa, a mediocre gentleman, and among us, the first ones of the king's court saw a dream.
That is one hell of a fucking sentence.
I was thinking more like that's a mouthful of a sentence, but basically, literally what I was thinking. Okay, I have a question, Terrace. Do you have a minute? I think there's a typo in the Bible. The city is called Susa when it should be called Sus.
Hold on.
Now he was one of a number of captives whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of... No, wait, there's no comma, so it's... Whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away from Jerusalem with Jeconiah, king of Judah. And this was his dream. Voices appeared, and confusion, and thunders, and earthquakes, and a disturbance upon the earth. What a dream! Just... And... The movie script reading hold. There were 2 mediocre dragons. Oh yeah, dragons are now canon in the Bible. I remember remember the Fountain of the Dragons? Dragons nuts across your face.
Yeah, that's the one. Where's the Oh yeah, there it is.
Okay. And there were 2 mediocre dragons making preparations against one another for battle, as dragons usually do. And at their cry, all peoples rushed forth to fight against the nation of the just. What? Okay, so there's 2 dragons. They are both getting ready to fight each other. And then when the dragons are crying, like battle cry, I guess, all the peoples are rushing forth to fight against the nation of the just. Oh, the dragons are fighting. That means we have to fight the nation of the just. Of course, yeah. Of course. As one usually does. And that was a day of darkness and division, of tribulation and anguish, and there was an unnatural dread over the earth. What if we replace dread with bread? I'm gonna give you a sample here. And that was a day of darkness and division, of tribulation and anguish, and there was an unnatural bread over the earth. Okay, I guess it's just me. Fine.
I've done the sus replace.
Very good. And the nation of the just was disturbed, fearing their own evils, and was prepared for death with one F. And they cried out to Skytis, and from their loud crying, a little fountain grew.
What?
And from their loud crying, a little fountain grew into a very mediocre river and overflowed into many waters. Oh, so they are all just like gathering up at the fountain, crying into the fountain so it overflows into a mediocre river.
Seems legit.
Have you ever heard the phrase, cry me a river?
Yes.
Well, I think we got a thumbnail, or at least title.
Oh no.
What is this? The light and the sun rose up, because those are 2 different things. The light is not related to the sun, in case you did not know. Correlation does not equal causation. The light and the sun rose up. Oh, of course, the light, as opposed to the fat people. You know, the light people are rising up. And the humble were exalted, and they devoured the illustrious. When Mordecai had seen this, and he arose from bed, he was considering what Skytis might want to do. And he just kept it fixed in his soul, desiring to know what the dream might signify. What the fuck is this dream? Woof. Okay,
Same.
I guess we have a somewhat interesting start, like by Bible standards. It's fucking confusing, but it's somewhat interesting. So I guess good job so far.
No.
Esther 2. Now he was staying at that time in the king's court with Bagatha. Oh no, it's Bagatha.
Baguette.
No, Bagatha. David Bagatha. And Thara, the king's eunuchs, who were porters of the palace. And when he realized their thoughts and had diligently paid close attention, he learned that they were attempting to cast their hand against King Artaxerxes, and he reported this to the king. Then the king had both of them questioned, and when they confessed, he ordered a sentence of death with one F. Just a casual sentence of
Just
death.
the one.
There's nothing to worry, nothing to see here. But the king had what happened written in the commentaries. But the king had what happened written in the commentaries. I misunderstood that sentence. And when Mordecai handed over the memory of these things into writing. And even Mordecai handed over the memory of these things into writing. And the king instructed him to remain in the court of the palace, having given him this position for the information. In truth, the son of Hamadatha, the Boujayan Terrace. How the fuck do you pronounce this word? I guess it's French, so it's Boujayan?
I can't see the word.
Boogie M?
Bush. I mean, it will be Bush. Bujem, I guess. Makes sense.
The Boujayan had mediocre honor in the eyes of the king. And he wanted to harm Mordecai and his people because of the 2 eunuchs of the king who had been executed. Esther 3. In the days of Artaxerxes, who reigned from India to Ethiopia over 127 provinces, when he sat on the throne of his kingdom, the city of Sus was the root of his kingdom. I think these 2 were the shortest chapters we had so far, possibly. Like Esther 1 and 2.
Well,
and so,
doesn't bode well.
In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a mediocre Fistonian for all the leaders and his servants, for the most powerful among Sus, the Persians, and the distinguished among Sus, the Medes nuts in your mouth, and for the rulers of the provinces before him, so that he might show the glorious riches of his balls into their face.
Same.
So that he might show the glorious riches of his kingdom, as well as its mediocreness, and so boast of his power for a long time, namely 180 days. So long time equals 180 days. Interesting. And when the days of the Fistonian were nearly completed, he invited all the people who had been found in Sus, from the mediocrist even to the Listonian, and he commanded the Fistonian to be prepared for 7 days in the court of the garden and the arboretum, which had been planted by the care and by the hand of the king. And
honestly, same.
No. And in every direction, tents the color of the sky and of flax as well as hyacinth were hung up, suspended by cords of linen, and even purple, which had been placed through rings of ivory and were held up with marble columns. What is this? They're using so many different materials now instead of just hyacinth and gold and silver.
I mean, hey, they gotta keep it, gotta mix it up.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're doing this. The couches. What? Couches? They had couches back then? The couches also of gold and silver. Ah, there we go again. A couch of silver and gold. That does not sound comfortable at all. The couches.
Was it made of silver and gold or just lined with it?
The couches also of gold and silver had been arranged over a pavement of emerald green, bearing scattered jewels, which was decorated with a wonderful variety of images. It doesn't say anything about it being made out of anything cloth-like. So, no, it's just a metal couch. Moreover, those who had been invited drank from golden cups, and dishes of foods were brought in one after another. Likewise, choice wine was presented in abundance and was worthy of royal magnificence. Nor was anyone compelled to drink who was unwilling. But, just as the king had appointed, one of his nobles was set over each table, so that each one might select what he wanted. Likewise, Vashti the queen, made a Fistonian for the women in the palace where King Artaxerxes was accustomed to stay the night. And so, on the 7th day, when the king was more cheerful and, after excessive drinking, had become warmed with wine, he ordered Mehuman and Bizthar and Harbona and Bigthar and Abagthar and Zethar and Charkas, 7 eunuchs who served in his presence, to bring in Queen Vashti before the king. with the crown set upon her head, to show her beauty to the whole people and to the leaders, for she was very beautiful.
Not again.
So basically, he got so fucking drunk, he's like, bring in my wife so I can brag about how fucking sexy she is.
Ooh.
She refused, and she showed contempt toward the king's command, which he had delivered to her by the eunuchs. Whereupon the king, being angry and inflamed with a mediocre fury, questioned the wise men, who, according to royal custom, were always near him, and all he did was by their counsel. Who knew the laws as well as the judgments of their ancestors. But first and foremost were Karshina and Shethar and Admatha and Tarshish and Meres and Marsena and Memucan, 7 rulers of the Persians, as well as the Medes nuts in your mouth, who saw the face of the king and who were accustomed to sitting down first after him. As to what sentence should fall upon Vashti the queen, who had refused to do the commandment of King Artaxerxes, which he had delivered to her by the eunuchs. Wow, we're back to terrible redundant writing again. Thanks, Bible. Also, I think we had some kind of drinking queue for stuff. No, I don't think this counts, but fuck you.
Okay.
And Memucan answered, in the hearing of the king as well as the rulers, King Vashti has wounded not only the king, but also all the people and the leaders who are all in the provinces of King Artaxerxes. For word about the queen will go out to all the women so that they will show contempt, for they are... Sorry, I'm apparently completely wasted. Let me try the sentence again. For word about the queen will go forth to all the women, so that they will show contempt for their husbands. Oh, I'm still drunk. For word about the queen will go out to all the women, so that they will show contempt for their husbands. Nope, still drunk. So that they will show contempt for their husbands. Nope, Bible's drunk. Of course, they husbands. As one usually says in English. And they will say, King Artaxerxes ordered that Queen Vashti should enter before him, and she would not. And so by this example, all the wives of the leaders of the Persians and the Medes nuts in your mouth will belittle the authority of their husbands. Therefore, the indignation of the king is just. If it pleases you, let an edict be sent out from your presence, and let it be written according to the law of the Persians and the Medes nuts in your mouth, which it is forbidden to disregard, that Vashti shall no longer enter before the king, but let another, who is better than her, receive her queenship. And let this be published in all the provinces of your empire, which is very wide, like your mom's ass. And let all wives, the mediocre as much as the lesser, give honor to their husbands. His counsel pleased the king and the rulers, and the king acted according to the counsel of Memucan. And he sent letters to all the provinces of his kingdom, so that every nation was able to hear and to read in various languages and letters that husbands are to be the mediocre rulers in their own houses, and that this should be published to every people. Oh, so we're just back to straight up sexism and women are inferior.
Yes.
Good job, Bible. We went from a whole book about a heroic woman to women are just the servants of their husbands. Bible, TM.
Seems legit.
Just Bible. Esther 4. And so, after this had been carried out and the indignation of King Artaxerxes had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what happened to her, and what had happened to her. And the servants of the king and his ministers said, Let young women be sought for the king, virgins and beautiful, and let investigators be sent throughout all the provinces for young women, beautiful and virgins. And let them bring them to the city of Sus, and deliver them into the house of the women under the hand of Hegai the eunuch. Or is it Hegai? Probably Hegai. And the eunuch, who is the overseer and keeper of the king's women. And let them receive feminine ornaments and other things necessary for their use. Wow, Bible. And let the women receive feminine ornaments. Okay, fair enough. Sure, give them rings and earrings and other, jewelry. And other things necessary for their use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just give them other things so they can be used for their primary purpose, which is Yeah, okay, Bible. Okay, Bible. And whoever amongst us them will all among them all will please the king's eyes. Let her reign instead of let her reign instead of Vashti. Oh, this was all part of speech. I forgot. The idea pleased the king, and so he ordered it to be done as they had suggested. There was a Jewish man in the city of Sus by the name of Mordecai, son of Jair, son of Shimei, son of Kish, of the house of Benjamin Urias, who had been carried away from Jerusalem at the time that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, carried away Jeconiah, king of Judah, who had raised his brother's daughter Hadassah, who by another name was called Esther. Didn't we have this exact introduction of who the fuck Mordecai is at the very beginning? You know what? I'm upset, so I have to drink.
Well.
Okay, so there was a dude called Mordecai, and his brother's daughter, so his niece, is called Hadassah, aka Esther. Okay, so Mordecai is the uncle of the person who this book is about.
Seems legit.
And she had lost both her parents. She was very beautiful, with a graceful appearance. Since her daddy and her mother had both died, Mordecai adopted her as his own daughter. And when the king's command became very well known, in accordance with this command, many beautiful women were brought to Sus, and he delivered to Hegai the eunuch, and were delivered to Hegai the eunuch. Likewise, Esther, along with the other young woman, was delivered to him to be protected with the assembled women. She was pleasing to him, and she found favor in his sight. And he commanded a eunuch to hasten the woman's ornaments and to deliver her share to her, along with 7 of the most beautiful young women of the king's house, so as to both adorn and honor her and her handmaids. She was not willing to reveal to him her people or her native land, for Mordecai had instructed her that she should keep silent about all these things. He went for a walk every day in the front courtyard of the house in which the chosen virgins were kept, for having concern for Esther's welfare and wanting to know what would happen to her. But when the time came for each in the line of the young women to go into the king, after everything had been completed concerning feminine grooming, this is totally not ambiguous, the 12th month had been reached, to the extent that for 6 months they were anointed with oil of myrrh, and for another 6 they used certain types of makeup and perfumes. I think this is the first mention of makeup, but I'm not sure. And when they were going into the king, whatever they requested to adorn themselves, they received. And when each was pleased with herself, having been prepared in the chamber of the women, she passed on to the king's chamber. And whoever entered at evening departed in the morning. And then from there she was led to the second house, which was under the hand of Shashgaz the eunuch, who presided.
Sheesh.
No, it's Shash. Who presided over the king's concubines. Nor did she have the power to return again to the king unless the king desired it and had summoned her by name. But as the order continued to progress, the day arrived when Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the brother of Mordecai, whom he had adopted as his daughter, in case you forgot, which was mentioned half a page ago, but you're all fucking stupid because you're listening to the Bible, was required to go into the king. She did not seek feminine ornaments, except whatever Hegai the eunuch and keeper of the virgins chose. He gave her to adorn her. So basically she didn't ask for any extra makeup? For she was very attractive, and her incredible beauty made her appear gracious and amiable in the eyes of all. And so she was led to the chamber of King Artaxerxes in the 10th month, which is called Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved her more than all the women, and she had favor and mercy in his eyes above all the women, and he set the royal crown on her head, and he made her queen instead of Vashti. And he ordered a magnificent feastonian to be prepared for all the rulers and for his servants because of the union and wedding of Esther. And he gave a holiday to all the provinces, and he bestowed gifts befitting of princely generosity. And when the virgins were sought for the second time and gathered together, Mordecai remained at the king's gate. Esther had not yet declared her native land and her people, according to his command. For whatever he instructed, Esther observed. And so she did all things that as she had become accustomed in the time when he raised her from early childhood. Therefore, at that time when Mordecai was staying at the king's gate, Agatha and Thara, two of the king's eunuchs, who were gatekeepers and who presided over the first entryway of the palace, were angry, and they decided to rise up against the king and kill him. Oh, not the king. Okay. So the two eunuchs were just angry because Mordecai is just kind of going up and down in front of the gate, and they were like, you know what? Fuck you. We're just gonna kill you. So they, even though the king didn't order it. No, wait, what? But Mordecai did not keep this secret and immediately reported. Wait, who did they kill? Let me try again. Therefore, at that time, when Mordecai was staying at the king's gate, Bagatha and Thara, two of the king's eunuchs, who were gatekeepers and who presided over the first entry of the palace, were angry, and they decided to rise up against the king and kill him. Who the fuck is him? So either they killed the king, or they killed Mordecai.
Yeah, seems legit.
So I guess they just killed the king? But then it says, but Mordecai did not keep this secret and immediately reported it to Queen Esther, and she reported it to the king. Like, literally!
Well, maybe we just mean the new king.
Who the fuck did they kill? I literally do not understand. This is terrible writing. It makes no sense to any sane person.
It's not supposed to.
Reported to Queen Esther, and she reported to the king in Mordecai's name, who had brought the matter to her. And it was inquired into and discovered that they were both hanged on gallows, and it was committed to the histories and the chronicles which are delivered in the sight of the king. Okay, so they just killed a person who you're just supposed to know. They killed somebody. I'm sure you know who. I don't need to mention him. And then Mordecai reported it to his now daughter, I guess, but technically his niece, and she reported to the king. What the fuck?
Yep.
Esther 5. After this, King Artaxerxes exalted Ha-Man, the son of Hammedatha, who was of Agag lineage.
Gig.
And he set his throne above all the rulers whom he had. And all the king's servants who passed by the doors of the palace bent their knees and adored Ha-Man, for so the ruler had instructed them. Only Mordecai did not bend his knee, nor adore him. The king's servants who presided over the doors of the palace said to him, "Why do you, more than the others, not observe the king's command?" And when they were saying this frequently, and he would not listen to them, they reported it to Ha-Man, desiring to know whether he would continue his resolution, for he had told them that he was a Jew. Now when Ha-Man had heard this, and had proved by test that Mordecai did not bend his knee to him, nor adore him, he was very angry. And he considered it pointless to lay his hands on Mordecai alone, for he had heard that he was part of the Jewish people. And so he wanted more, to destroy the entire nation of the Jews, who were in the kingdom of Artaxerxes. Ah, yes, casual racism and guilt by association. Ah, yes, there's an annoying Jew. How about we just eradicate all Jews from existence? Logical conclusion, of course. Just Bible things.
Yeah, of course.
In the first month, which is called Nisan, in the 12th year of the reign of King Artaxerxes, the lowercase lot was cast into an urn, which in Hebrew was called Pur, with one R, because it's not a cat, in the presence of Ha-Man, to determine on what day and in which month the Jewish people should be destroyed. And it turned out to be the 12th month, which is called Adar. Oh, adorable. No, you'll not go away, cat peasant, or you get bonked. And Ha-Man said to King Artaxerxes, "There is a people dispersed throughout all the provinces of your kingdom, and separated one from another, who make use of unusual laws and ceremonies, and who, in addition, show contempt for the king's ordinances. And you know very well that it is not expedient for your kingdom that they should become insolent through independence. If it pleases you, declare that they may be destroyed, and I will weigh out 10,000 talents to the keepers of your treasury." Wow, racism much. And so the king took the ring that he used from his own hand and gave it to Ha-Man, the son of Hammedatha, of Agag lineage, enemy of the Jews. And he said to him, "Let the silver which you promise be for yourself. As for the people, do with them as it pleases you." The scribes of the king were summoned in the first month of Nisan on the 13th day of the same month, and it was written as Haman had commanded to all the king's governors and to the judges of the provinces and to various peoples, so that each people could read and hear according to their various languages in the name of King Artaxerxes. And the letters were sealed with this ring. These were sent by the king's messengers to all the provinces, so as to kill and destroy all the Jews, from the children all the way to the elderly, even little children and women, on one day, that is, on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is called Adar, and to plunder their goods, even their necessities. Okay, that is a fucking loaded chapter. So basically there's a guy who's upset by a single Jew. So he's like, I'm gonna make sure that we eradicate all the Jews from existence. So he goes to the king and he's like, Jews bad. And the king's like, okay, I trust you. Here's my ring. So you can use it as a seal and then send out letters throughout all my kingdom. And then he just has letters sent throughout all of his kingdom that just say, kill all the Jews. Remind you of anybody?
Nope.
Same. Esther 6. And this was the text of the letter. Artaxerxes, the mediocre king from India and all the way to Ethiopia, to the leaders and the generals of the 127 provinces which are subject to his authority. Greetings. What is this sentence? Although I have reigned over many nations and subjugated the whole world under my realm, I was by no means willing to abuse the mediocreness of this power, but to govern my subjects with clemency and leniency, so that they would settle into a quiet life, and apart from any terror and delight in peace, as all mortals would choose to do. Yet, in asking my counselors how this might be able to be accomplished, one who excelled the others in wisdom and fidelity, and who was second after the king, named Haman, explained to me that there was a people scattered throughout the whole world that used strange laws and, acting against the customs of all peoples, despised the commandments of the kings and violated the harmony of all nations with their dissension. When we had learned this, seeing one nation rebellious against all mankind, having overthrown the usefulness of laws and going against our orders, and disturbing the peace of harmony of the provinces subject to us, we commanded that whomever man, who is chief over all the provinces, the second after the king, and whom we honor in the place of a deity, whomever he would point out should be destroyed by their enemies, with their wives and children, and that no one may take pity on them, on the 14th day of the 12th month Adar of this present year, so that these guilty men all on one day may go down to the underworld, restoring to our empire the peace that they had disturbed. And the effect of the letter was this: that all provinces would know and prepare for the prescribed day. The couriers who had been sent hurried to complete the king's command. But the edict was hung up in Sus immediately. And the king and Haman celebrated Festonian while all the Jews in the city were weeping. Actually, hold on. Where the fuck was this?
See.
Yeah, I need to mark this for later.
No, you don't.
Whatever. No, I'm fuck you. Actually, I'm gonna find it.
Well.
Maybe that's our title. Hitler 0.1 or 2.0, because it was before, but basically Hitler. I don't know what else to say.
It's the alpha version of Hitler. Pre-release.
I think Hitler was more of a beta male.
I suppose so. He did only have one message.
Esther 7. When Mordecai had heard this, he tore his garments.
Yeah, right.
How much
Yes.
for you to buy a garment just to tear it on stream?
I don't know, buy something and then I'll tear it.
Sounds like a terrible idea. Just gonna ignore my chat room from now on.
Yeah, you probably should.
And when Mordecai had heard this, he tore his garments and put on sackcloth, strewing ashes on his head. And he cried out with a loud voice in the main street of the city, revealing the anguish of his soul. And he continued with this lamenting even up to the gate of the palace, for no one clothed with sackcloth is permitted to enter the king's court. Likewise, in all provinces, towns, and places where the king's cruel decision arrived, there was extraordinary mourning amongst us, the Jews, while fasting, wailing, and weeping, with many using sackcloth and ashes for their bed. Then Esther's maid and eunuchs went and informed her, and when she heard it, she was shocked, and she sent a garment to clothe him, and to take away the sackcloth, but he would not accept it.
Email it over.
No, female. She femaled it over.
Yeah.
And she sent for Hathach, the eunuch, whom the king had appointed to minister to her, and she instructed him to go to Mordecai to discern from him why he was doing this. And departing, Hathach, whatever, went to Mordecai, who was standing in the street of the city in front of the palace entrance. He told him everything that has happened and how Haman had promised to transfer silver into the king's treasury for the death, with one F, of the Jews. Also, he gave him a copy of the edict that he was hanging up in Sus, so that he would show it to the queen and advise her to go in to the king and beg him on behalf of her people. And Hathach returned and informed Esther of all that Mordecai had said. "Remember," he said, "the days of your lowliness, how you were nurtured as if in my hand, because Haman, who is second after the king, has spoken against us to death with one F. And you must call upon the Lord and speak with the king on our behalf and free us from the death with one F." She answered him and ordered him say to Mordecai, "All the servants of the king and all the provinces that are under his realm understand that anyone, whether man or woman, who enters the king's inner court, who has not been summoned, is immediately to be put to death with one F, without any delay, unless the king should happen to extend the golden scepter to him as a sign of clemency, so that he will be able to live. How then can I go in to the king when, for 30 days now, I have not been called to him?" And when Mordecai had heard this, he again sent word to Esther, saying, "Do not think that you will save so much as your own soul just because you are in the king's house and are above all the Jews. For if you remain silent now, the Jews will be delivered through some other opportunity, but you and your daddy's house will perish. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for this reason, so that you would be prepared for such a time as this." And he entrusted her, there was no question but that it was Mordecai, to go in to the king and to petition on behalf of her people and her native land. And again Esther sent to Mordecai in these words, "Go and gather all the Jews whom you will find in Sus and pray for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days and 3 nights, and I will fast with my handmaid similarly. And then I will go into the king, doing what is against the law, not having been called, and so expose myself to mortal danger." And so Mordecai went, and he did everything that Esther had instructed him. Now Mordecai beseeched the Lord, remembering all his works. And he said, "O Lord, Almighty King, surely all things are possible for you, and there is no one who is able to resist your will, if you would determine to save Glasgow. You have created heaven and earth and everything that is contained under the cycle of heaven. You are Lord of all, and there's no one who can resist your majesty. You know everything, and you know that it was not out of arrogance or indignation or some desire for glory that I did this, so that I refused to adore the very proud man. For I was freely prepared, for the sake of the salvation of Glasgow, to have willingly kissed even the footsteps of his feet. But I
I'm gonna
feared,
willingly kiss you.
lest I should transfer the honor of my Skytus to a man, lest I should adore anyone except my Skytus. And now, Lord, King, Skytus of Abraham, may you have mercy on your people, because our enemies want to destroy us and to erase your inheritance. Do not despise your portion which you have redeemed for yourself out of Egypt. Listen to my supplication, and be gracious to your lowercase Lord, and your token, and change our sorrow to gladness, so that in living we may praise your name, Lord. Do not close the mouths of those who sing to you. Likewise, all Glasgow cried out to the Lord with the same intention and supplication, because certain death with one F was hanging over them. You know what else is hanging over us?
The gay.
No, a pee break.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, keep eating sunflower seeds and not actually say anything of any significance. Quite like sunflower seeds. They make a mess, mind you. There are like sunflower seed husks everywhere, but you know, that's a small price to pay for a very long-term snack. And these things take a while to eat. I can buy more of them. Bought like 2 kilograms, which is 4 half-kilogram bags, and I'm on my last bag. Must be quite that one hell of a piss. Now he's back. This guy pretend nothing happened.
Your mom is significantly overweight. Got him! And by I mean the pounds which she got. Or kilos. Whichever unit of measurement you prefer. Esther 8. Queen Esther also, fearing the danger that was imminent, fled to the Lord. And when she had put aside her royal apparel, she took up garments suitable for weeping and mourning, and instead of various ointments, she covered her head with ashes from burnt dung, and she humbled her body with fastings, and all the aspects of her beauty she covered with her torn hair.
That is one.
She just tore her hair and glued it onto her body and returned to monkey? I'm not sure. And she begged the Lord Skytus of Glasgow, saying, My lord, who alone is our king? Help me, a solitary woman, for there is no other helper but you. My peril is close at hand. I have heard from my daddy that you, Lord, chose Glasgow from among us, all nations, and our daddies from among us, all their former ancestors, to possess them as an everlasting inheritance, and you have done for them just as you said. We have sinned in your sight, and therefore you have delivered us into the hands of our enemies, for we have worshipped their skydices. You are just, O Lord. And now, they are not content to oppress us with a very difficult servitude, but attributing the strength of their hands to the power of their idols. They want to alter your promises and erase your inheritance and close the mouths of those who praise you and extinguish the glory of your temple and your altar, so that they may open the mouths of the nations and praise the strength of idols and proclaim a worldly king in perpetuity. Lord, do not hand over your scepter to that which does not exist, lest they laugh at your ruin, but turn their counsel upon themselves and destroy him who has begun to rage against us. Be mindful, Lord, and show yourself to us in the time of our tribulation, and give me faith, Lord, King of Skytises and of every power. Grant fitting words to my mouth in the sight of the lion, and transform his heart to hate our enemy, so that both he and the others who conspire with him may perish. But free us by your hand, and help me, who has no other helper but you, Lord, who holds the knowledge of all things. And you know that...
what? I'm just gonna make a website that says, like, ooh.
I'm trying to read here. And you know that I hate the glory of the wicked, and I detest the bed of the uncircumcised and of all outsiders. You know my necessity.
The bed of the uncircumcised.
Yeah, she
actually brilliant.
She only detests the beds, not the uncircumcised penises. Those are hot, but beds are kind of cringe. You know my necessity, that I loathe the sign of my exaltation and the glory which is on my head in the days of my exhibition, and that I detest it like a menstruous rag, and do not wear it in the days of my silence, and that I have not eaten at Haman's table, nor has the king's Feastonians pleased me, and that I have not drunk the wine of his libations, and that your handmaid has never rejoiced from the time that I was carried here until this very day, except in you, Lord, Skytis of Abraham. O Skytis, whose strength is above all things, heed the voice of those who have no other hope, and free us from the hand of the wicked, and rescue me from my fear. Hello, Even. Thanks for breaking my stream. Esther 9. So on the third day she put away her ornate apparel and surrounded herself with glory. And when she was shining in a royal manner and had called upon Skytis, the guide and savior of all, she took 2 maids with her. Okay, Skytis is now the guide and savior of all. It's who's giving him this title?
Himself.
Not technically,
Clearly.
but implicitly, I guess, because somebody wrote this in the name of him, so surely it counts.
Well, counts if you ask me.
Me isn't here.
Well, me can go suck a dick.
Well,
You
that's
should
kind
be
of
here.
mean. No, wait, where? The guide and savior of all. She took 2 maids with her, and she was leaning upon one of them, as if, out of delicateness and mediocre tenderness, she were not able to bear carrying her own body. And the other maid followed her lady, carrying her garment flowing on the ground. Yet she had a rosy color pouring over her face, for, with gracious and bright eyes, she restrained a sorrowful soul and very mediocre fear. And so, entering hesitantly through a series of doors, she stood opposite the king, where he sat upon his royal throne, clothed in royal robes and shining with gold and precious stones. And he was terrible to behold.
Oh no.
And when he had lifted up his face, and with burning eyes had shown the fury of his heart, the queen collapsed, and her color turned pale, and she rested her exhausted head upon her handmaid. And Skytis changed the king's spirit into gentleness. Quickly and apprehensively he leapt from his throne, and lifting her up in his arms until she came to herself. He coaxed her with these words: "What is the matter, Esther? I am your brother. Do not be afraid. You will not die, for this law has not been established for you, but for all others. So approach and touch the scepter." And since she remained silent, he took the golden scepter and placed it on her neck, and he kissed her and said, "Why do you not speak to me?" And she answered, "I saw you, my lord, as an angel of Skytis, and my heart was disturbed for fear and your glory, and for fear of your glory. For you, my lord, are mediocre and wonderful, and your face is full of grace. You love that mediocre, you have to drink." And while she was speaking, she collapsed again because she was out of breath. But the king was troubled, and all his servants consoled her. Alternate text from the Hebrew verses 17 to 18. Hold on. So we just read up to 9 Esther 9 verse 16, and now we have alternate text for 17 and 18, and then it
Apparently, yeah.
like this just cut content, like 17, 18, yeah, and
Yeah, it's
then
the
it goes on
DLC.
through 19.
It's the DLC.
Yeah, but it's not after, it's just DLC in the middle for some reason. Okay. Alternate text from the Hebrew, verses 17 to 18. And so, on the third day, Esther had put on her royal apparel and was standing in the atrium of the king's house, which was inside, opposite the king's hall, while he was sitting on his throne in the council room of the palace, opposite the entrance of the house. And when he saw Esther, the queen, standing there, she pleased his eyes. Just like gently rubbing his eyes until he comes. I mean, what?
I think we call that crying.
I'm pretty sure you would start crying if somebody did that to you.
Yeah, exactly.
She pleased his eyes, and he extended toward her the golden scepter. Okay, I see how this goes. Which he held in his hand. Oh. And she approached and kissed the top of his scepter. Oh. Well, we definitely have...
Actually, fuck off.
Well, I think we have some kinkiness in this chapter, that's for sure.
Oh, God, no. Oh. I actually can't fucking believe.
You're so welcome. And the king said to her, "What do you wish, Queen Esther? What is your request?" Oh yeah, of course, now he's being complicit. "Even if you ask for half of the kingdom, it will be given to you." But she responded, "If it pleases the king." Oh, I'm sure it does. "I beg you to come."
Oh, God, no.
"I beg you to come with me today, and man with you." Oh, a threesome. The gift that just keeps on giving. I mean, coming. I mean, what? "To the feastonian that I have prepared." Oh. And immediately the king said, "Call Haman quick, so that he may obey Esther's will." And so the king and Haman came. Wait. Is this still part of the speech? Yeah, I guess. "And so the king and Haman came to the feastonian, which the queen had prepared for them." No, they just literally missed the quotation mark. Fuck you. "And so the king and Haman came to the feastonian, which the queen had prepared for them. And the king said to her, after he had drunk wine abundantly, 'What are you asking for that should be given to you? And which things do you require? Even if you request half of my kingdom, you will obtain it.' Esther answered him, 'My petition and prayer is this: if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleases the king to give me what I ask, and to fulfill my petition, let the king and Haman come to my feastonian, which I have prepared for them, and tomorrow I will open my mind to the king.'" Wait, what? Okay, hold on. I need a moment to reread this. Okay, so she says, "If it's okay for you, I beg you that Haman and you come to a feastonian that I have prepared." And then the king says, "Okay, call Haman so we can obey his will." And then the king and Haman go to the feastonian. And then the king's like, "Okay, what do you want?" And Esther's like, "My petition and prayer, if I found favor on your side, is that you come to my feastonian, which I have prepared." Except that's literally where they are. They are at the feastonian that she prepared. And she's like, oh, it's my will that you come to my feastonian.
Seems legit.
This is so fucking dumb. And tomorrow I will open my mind to the king. And so Haman went out that day, joyful and cheerful. And when he saw that Mordecai was sitting in front of the gate of the palace, and that he alone did not get up for him, but did not so much as move from the palace from the place where he sat, he was very indignant. But concealing his anger and returning into his house, he gathered to him his friends and Zeresh, his wife. Zeresh. Ah, yes, I also have Zeresh in my pants. It's itchy. I mean, what? And he explained to them the mediocreness of his riches and the influence of his sons, and how, with such glory, the king had elevated him above all his rulers and servants. And after this, he said, also, Queen Esther has called no one else to the feastonian with the king except me. And I will be dining with the king again tomorrow. And though I have all these things, I consider that I have nothing as long as I see Mordecai, the Jew, sitting in front of the king's gate. So he's like, okay, I live an incredibly good life, but as long as this fucking Jew is out in front of this gate, I basically have nothing. My life is fucking worthless. Holy fuck, that's some racism. Or just, this specifically is not racism, but just hatred towards a single person, which results in racism. And Zeresh, his wife, and his other people, and his other friends answered him, order a mediocre beam to be prepared, having a height of 50 times 18 inches, 457 millimeters, and in the morning speak to the king so that Mordecai may be hanged from it. And so you will go joyfully with the king to the feastonian. This advice pleased him, and he ordered a high cross to be prepared. Ah, yes, good friends, they're just telling him, you know what, why don't you just go and kill this guy? Then you'll be happy, just kill this stupid Jew that's just, yeah? Not racist, just reasonable, totally. No, I thought the Bible was bad with all the sexism, but okay. I guess there's always, you can always go lower. But you know what, Terrace? You know what you can also do?
What can you do?
Go.